Hello children, you are welcome to this segment of the program. It is mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. So what are we going to be doing in mathematics today? We are going to continue our work on statistics, of course. Remember that in our last lesson on Tuesday, we talked about bar graphs. But are bar graphs the only way by which we can represent data? No. There are several other ways. Today, we will be looking at pie charts. But what are pie charts? You will see them right behind me, right about now. Imagine that you and your older siblings and your elder siblings, you have to share this piece of pizza. Now, of course, the African child, you have to arrange, get the size of pizza that you're going to get is going to be less than what your elder sibling is going to get. And the size of your pizza will be more than what your younger sibling is going to get. This is exactly what the pie chart is all about, where we share a little pizza according to the size of the data, just like you are going to share it according to the size of your age. But before we go into pie charts for today, let's look at the result of that assignment that was given to you. Darasimi took the online test for his favorite TV show, The Classroom in Your Home, and he scored 16 in mathematics, 18 in English studies, 14 in general studies. Now you were asked to represent this using a bar graph. All you have to do, my friend, is to draw rectangles that are as long as the number, like this. So in mathematics, Darasimi scored 16, so you draw a rectangle that stops in front of 16. In English studies, it's called 18, so you have a rectangle that stops in front of 18. Finally, in general studies, you have a rectangle that stops in front of 14 because Darasimi scored 14. Now, I believe that your diagram is something very close to this, and you deserve to be celebrated, so I give you a chair. Now, moving on to that piece of pizza that I talked about the other time. What are we expected to know at the end of today's lesson? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to read a pie chart and interpret it. You should also be able to extract information, that is, answer questions from a given pie chart. How are you going to do this exactly? Relax, drop your pens and paper, and listen as Uncle Agbaje walks you through the process. Now, pie charts are a lot like that pizza that I talked about, and I did explain that it's about sharing something based on the size of data. The example that we gave was your age. Now, a circle graph or a pie chart shows how parts relate to a whole. It makes it easy for us to see data very quickly. So at a glance, you can say, oh, this has the larger size and this has the smaller size. Moving on, a simple pie chart will show you the fraction of a whole. The bigger the data, the bigger the fraction that you're going to get. So, sometimes it can be given as a percentage like this one, in which case the whole circle is 100%. Sometimes it can be given as an angle like this one. And you remember that the total angle in a circle is, do you remember, is 360 degrees. Now, in any pie chart, if the pie chart is given to you with respect to angles or with respect to fractions, then that fraction, by the time you add all the fractions together, you must get one whole because you have one whole pizza to share. Now, if it is given to you in terms of percentage, then everything must add up to 100% because the whole in mathematics is 100%. If it is given to you in terms of degrees, then the whole angle in a circle must add up to 360 degrees. So at every point in time, before you start working with the pie chart, check, is it given in percentages like this one? Or is it given in degrees like this one? Or is it given in fractions like the one we'll be looking at in our sample? So now let's see how we're going to be applying this knowledge of how to solve pie charts in actual problems. Now, this pie chart shows the expenses of running a shop. We're asked to find the total expenses that is spent on electricity, water charges and refuse collection, rent, salaries, and text message. Now, if we zoom into this pie chart, we will see that from afar, the salaries is taking the largest chunk. Which expense do you think is taking the smallest part? Obviously, it is the text message. It takes the smallest piece of the pizza or the pie. So, we now see that this whole pie chart is divided into 20 places. Let's count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So the whole pie chart is divided into 20 pieces. Now, going back to the question, let's see how we're going to be answering the question. The question says, what fraction? You need to hold on to that. It says, what fraction? So now we're going to answer that. Let's go on and say, so, like I have said, the pie chart is divided into 20 equal parts. We now want to know how much is spent on electricity. So let's see the pie chart again and see electricity. So I look for electricity. It is right here. How many parts of the whole pizza does it take? It takes 1, 2. That means it takes 2 out of 20, and that's exactly the fraction. You can see it's very easy to pick out. So I just write that. I just write that as the fraction. So electricity takes 2 parts out of 20 parts. That's the fraction. But I can reduce this to the lowest term by dividing by 2. So 2 goes here, 1, 2 goes here, 10. Final fraction is 1 all over 10. That's my final answer. It's as simple as that. You just count how many out of how many. So now let's see about answering the second question. What fraction of the expenses is spent on what charges and refuse? Now, we're going to zoom in on the slide and see how many shares gets allocated to water charges and refuse. Here is it. We have 1, 2, and 3. 3 out of 20. So we're going to write just that. So we'll go back. We'll write 3 all over 20 for water charges. And that is our final answer because we can't reduce this. It's as simple as that. So now we're going to look at what fraction is allocated to rent expenses. So I'm going to just bring up the pie chart and count how many is allocated for rent. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 5 out of 20. So I go back and write for rent 5 all over 20. Then I can simplify this further. 5 goes here 1, 5 goes here 4. So the total fraction is now 1 over 4. It's as simple as counting how many spaces all over the total spaces. So now I want you to take the final two. Find the fraction of that is of the expenses that is allocated to text messages and salary. I'm going to bring up the pie chart for you so that you can count, and you have just 30 seconds for that. Begin. Eyes on me. Now, for text messages, we see that there is just one part of the pizza allocated to it. So that is 1 over 20. As for salaries, we can count. For salaries, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So in the two cases, you should get 1 out of 20 and 9 out of 20. Let's see how it goes. For text messages, I have said, is 1 out of 20. And for salaries, it is 9 out of 20. So that is just it right there. So now the next aspect of the work is now to find how much is actually spent on each of these expenses. How much is spent on each of the items if the total expenses is 60,000 naira? Now we know the fraction. Now we know the total money. It is easy to divide this money into 20 places and give each share to where they belong. For instance, if you divide this into 20, you give 9 shares to salary, 3 shares to water refuse charges, 2 shares to electricity, 1 share to text messages, and 5 shares to rent. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to divide this money into 20 because our old pie chart has been divided into 20. So we divide the money into 20. So let's take it one by one. For the first one, which is electricity charges, how much is it going to get in terms of expenses? So we look at electricity and see that you have 2 spaces out of 20. So I write that 2 all over 20. Then I have to scale it up by 60,000. It's the same thing as saying 60,000 divided by 20. Then I multiply by 2. That means I give it 2 shares. Alternatively, you can take the fraction that is allocated to electricity and multiply it with the money that you are given. You will still get the same answer, my friend. So let's see how that goes. 1 0 we cancel 1 0. 2 divides 2, you get 1. Now 1 times, here you still have 6,000. 1 times 6,000 is 6,000, and that is just the final answer. Which means that electricity charges for the month is 6,000. Now let's see, if I divide 60,000 into 20 places, how much am I going to get? I'm going to get 3,000. So each of these places 3,000. Then if I give 2 of that to electricity, 3,000 in 2 places, that is 6,000. So that's exactly the answer, my friend. So let's see how the next one is going to be solved. The next one is water charges and refuse. Water charges and refuse takes 3 out of 20. So I'll say 3 out of 20, then I multiply by the money. And in this case, 0 will cancel 1 0. 2 goes in 6 3 times, and you have 3,000 here. 3,000 times 3 will give you 9,000, which is something as saying 3,000 in 3 places, 9,000. Let's see the next one. How much for text messages? It's just 1 space, and that is just going to be 3,000. Let's see how it goes. 1 out of 20, then multiply by 60,000, and you will get 1 0 cancels 1 0. 2 goes in 6 3 times. 1 times 3,000. The final answer is 3,000, my friend. So it's as simple as that. All you have to do is take the fraction of each expense and multiply it by the total money. Now I want you to take the remaining 2. Find the amount that is spent on paying salaries and on paying rent. You have 1 minute. Begin. Alrighty then, eyes on me. I believe you are done by now. Don't forget, we are to find the amount that is spent on salaries and on rent. The total money is 60,000, and we have divided our pie into 20 places. That means I will divide the total money, the total 60,000, into 20. If I divide 60,000 into 20, I will get 3,000. Now I need to count how many spaces for salaries. We have counted the other time, it is 9. So 3,000 in 9 places, you should get 27,000. But let's just say it worked out. That is 9 spaces out of 20 spaces, then multiplied by the money. 1 0 cancels 1 0. 2 goes in 6 3 times. You have 9 times 3,000. to give you 27,000. This is the final answer, my friend. Let's see how much exactly. That's just the division playing out. Let's see how much exactly goes for rent. Now, don't forget, each space is 5,000. 5,000 in how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3,000 rather. Each space is 3,000. 3,000 in 5 places. That should give you 15,000. But let's see it worked out. 5 out of 20 is the fraction for rent. Then we multiply it by the money, and that gives us 5 over 20 times 60,000. So let's just say the cutting. 0 goes in 0, and 2 goes here 3 times. 5 times 3,000, you get 15,000. I believe you got these answers right, and for that you deserve a cheer. Now, for your assignment, I want you to copy what you have on the board. This is a pie chart. It has been divided for you into 8 equal parts. Now, the pie chart represents the favorite sport of 40 students, which means that the whole thing represents 40 students. How many children prefer football? How many children prefer swimming? How many children prefer lawn tennis? Which sport is as popular as lawn tennis? What fraction of the class prefers squash? Copy this. You have 1 minute, and I will see you in the next class. I believe you are done copying your assignments now. I will now hand you over to Uncle Popo for the general studies lesson. Till I come your way next time, remain wonderful mathemagicians.